School heading into camp in summer. One more bar mitzvah for this school year. And Matthew, that's you. So how about a big mazel tov to Matthew, everybody? There you go. Beautiful. And Cantor Greenfield and I are looking forward to leading services tonight and tomorrow afternoon. We're going to have a great time. And we're going to start with singing Bim Bam, which helps us to bring in the Shabbat spirit of rest and peace and celebration into our lives. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We hope you enjoy a wonderful Shabbat this weekend of Matthew's Bar Mitzvah. So at this point, those of you in the front row want to come up, come stand at this table up here. We're going to sing Shalom Aleichem and continue to embrace the Shabbat spirit. Debbie, you're forgetting somebody very important. Whatever, great. Whoever wants to come up. You can stand here, great. Sarah can come up, whatever you want to do. It's all good. Okay. And on page 5, near the bottom of the page, Cantor Greenfield leads us to the Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hamelech, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamelech, Baruch Hu. Baruch Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei
So we say Shalom Aleichem to all of you. You guys can sit down. Okay, Shalom Aleichem to all of you, which means peace be unto you. May you enjoy this Shabbat. We're all here together, all here to help each other, have a wonderful time, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're on page 14. We're going to celebrate Shabbat with the singing of Yismechu on 14.
Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim v'tayel haaretz.
Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim
v'tayel
haaretz.
Yeram hayam.
Yeram hayam. Yiram hayam umelo, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Page 21. Matthew, every bar bat mitzvah gets blessed on Friday night with these beautiful words from the book of Psalms. Adonai Ozli amo yitain, Adonai yivarech atamova shalom. May you be blessed with strength, with peace, with love, family and friendship, all good things, now and always. Amen.
Amen.
One of many bar mitzvah prayers for you. Now we're going to turn to Lecha Dodi, which is on page 23. If you want to join us, Matthew, up here to help sing with us, we'd love to have you anytime. on page 23, Cantor's going to start to sing that beautiful song of Lecha Dodi, which will welcome the Sabbath bride, who will bring her beautiful and peaceful presence to our Shabbat celebration.
Lecha dodi
Likrat kala,
Pnei Shabbat
kabela,
nekabela. Lecha dodi
likrat
likrat kala.
kala,
Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
nekabela,
Shamor
v'zachor
v'zachor v'dibur
echad.
Ishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'lichila Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nisucha Tov ma'aseh b'machshavat chila Lecha dodi likrat chala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat chala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech ir melucha Kumitzei mitoch ha'afecha Rav lach shevet b'yemek habacha V'hu yechamol alayechem la Lecha dodi Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela
Lecha dodi likrat kala.
Pnei Shabbat nekabela
Page 25, we invite you to rise and face the door as we sing the last verse of Bo'iva Shalom to welcome the Shabbat bride. Please rise.
Bo'i v'shalom
Teret
ateret
bala,
Gam b'simcha
Zohala,
Toch emunei
Hey,
am segula Bo'i chala Lecha dodi likrat chala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat chala Pnei Shabbat nekabela
You may be seated, everyone. The Shabbat bride is here, and so we are so happy to celebrate this day of rest and of family togetherness and this day of a bar mitzvah simcha with everyone. So now we're going to celebrate Shabbat again on page 28 at the red arrow at the singing of Tzaddik. There you go.
Yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizkeh shitulim bebeit
Adonai
bechatzrot
Eloheinu yafrichu Odinuvon Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yiyu Lehagid Ki Ashar Adonai Turi Velo Avlatabo. Page 39. We are moving now from welcoming to Shabbat to embracing Shabbat. We're heading into the setting of the sun and nightfall, which is the Mariv evening service for Shabbat on page 39. Those who are willing and able, we'll invite you to rise for Baruch Hu to celebrate our community gathered together. Top of 39.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Varach Li'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated. Dear God, we thank you for the blessings that come our way by day and by night. We thank you for the periods of our lives, the years, the seasons, the darkness and the light. May we all learn great lessons from the seasons of our lives. Amen.
ומעביר יום ובין לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המרי ברבים.
Amen. Page 40, we celebrate Torah and Jewish learning and values that helps to make us the people we want to be. 5 lines up in the Hebrew is Kihem Chayenu.
כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה כי אהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen. Page 41 is Shema.
שמע ישראל,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Li'olam Va'ed.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל לבבך ובכל
כל
נפשך
נפשך
ובכל מאודיך
ידיך
והיו
הדברים האלה
אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Page 41, I want to invite you to all join me as we read these words in English that make up a central declaration of Jewish faith and about some of the most important mitzvot we can do. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Praise be the name of the one whose glorious sovereignty is forever and ever. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words that I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them again and again to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your home and on your gates. Page 42, we continue on our own.
Adonai Elohechem
Emet. We turn ahead to page 44, near the top for Micha Mocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai.
Mi kamocha
nedar ba'kodesh.
Nora tehilot osei felem.
Malchut chavro v'necha v'keyam lifnei Moshe zel yanav yamru.
Adonai yimloch liolam va'ed.
ונאמר, כי חדל אל יעקב, וגלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 45 is Hashkivena, which is a prayer for peace, that we wish each other every Shabbat, and so we wish it for all of us. May we be sheltered in the shadow of the wings of God, of loved ones, and all that is good. May we be watched over and delivered. We hope that our travels will be good for life and for peace now and always. May we feel the canopy of peace spreading over our bodies, our hearts, and our souls. Blessed are you, O Lord, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, over Jerusalem, and over all of humanity. And let us say, Amen. Page 46 is Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל
Et HaShabbat
לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית
Berit Olam.
ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי
Ti
לעולם,
Olam.
אותי לעולם,
Oti Olam.
ושמרו
V'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'dorotam Berit Olam.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים, את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו
בני ישראל
את השבת
לעשות את
השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש,
שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
יאמר דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי
בחייכון וביומכון
ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ועמי עמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בימיו יאמרו Amen.
Page 47, we invite those of you who are willing and able to rise for the Amidah, said individually, starting on page 47, the prayers of tradition and in our hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Morid hatam Modim anachnu lach shetahun. Shalom aleichem. Shalom. you may be seated. I want to invite you to turn to page 51 in your Sidurim. Page 51, Shalom Rav means may great peace come over us and befall us, and we pray for this every day of the week, especially in Shabbat, which is known as Shabbat Shalom, the day of peace. So if you know it, feel free to join along. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lecha shalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecha Shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. We wish everybody great peace, now and always. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So, traditionally on Friday night, I share a few thoughts. And I want to do that tonight. It's Friday night, right? Exactly. So, anybody here ever had an argument? Really? We have one truthful person in the whole gang, right? Arguing is a part of life. We do that from time to time for all sorts of reasons, with all sorts of people. Sometimes we feel good about what we're doing, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we know what we're arguing about, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have the hugest fights in our lives, and then like 5 minutes later, someone goes, "What happened?" You go like, "I don't know. I don't even know what we were arguing about." It happens all the time. Anyway, arguing is part of life, and arguing is a part of Judaism. But what I want to share with you right now is that there's a place and a time for it, and there's a way to do it that can be productive as opposed to just destructive. And hopefully we'll all learn something from this story, and it'll inspire us. And the next time we get into an argument, we will remember this lesson and see if it helps us along. So it goes like this. First of all, if you go back in history, one of the first huge arguments you had, and argument is one word, disagreement is another word. I don't say it with an emotional value, like it's got to be a slam down, knock each other out. But a disagreement, let's put it with that. Or a meeting of the minds in which not everybody feels the same way. So you remember back in the story of Genesis, Abraham, our first patriarch? Abraham hears that God is going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham says to God, he says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And God says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you're talking about a lot of people." He goes, "Can they all possibly be evil? Can they all be wicked? Because they've all done something so bad that they deserve to lose their lives? What about the kids? What about the little ones?" So Abraham starts to kind of like disagree with God. Now, there are other traditions and religions where they believe that God's only response would have been, "Abraham, how dare you talk to me like that? I am God, I am all powerful, I know everything. I'm going to send down thunder and lightning, and that will be the end of you." Boom. But that's not our tradition. It's really cool. First of all, God doesn't threaten Abraham back by saying, "I'm bigger than you are. I'm tougher than you are. Want to see?" Not only does he not do that, but he listens to Abraham. And moreover, he says, "Hey, Abraham, you know what? I think you might have a point there. Let's talk about this." Abraham says, you, O God, are trying to teach me how to be good and righteous. So how can I learn from you if you're going to do something that is not so good or righteous, killing all these people who probably all didn't deserve it? So God kind of waits for Abraham's next offer, like, okay, so now what? So Abraham says, God, he says, I'll tell you what. He says, in all those 2 cities, if we can find 50 good people, he goes, will you spare them? Will you keep them alive? Meaning, like, if the evil people have to die, I guess that's justice, but the innocent people, they shouldn't have to. Not only does God agree to that, but he goes even further and shows his side of great mercy and says, I'll tell you what, Abraham, you find 50 righteous people, I'll save them all. I won't kill any of them. Wow. That's like, in some ways, injustice on the other side. The people who deserve punishment don't get it, but that's something we all hope for. We all do things from time to time. We hope we won't get punished for it or taken to task. So this conversation goes on, and it seems like God was pretty much right. There weren't a lot of righteous people. Finally, Abraham says, God, what if there's like 10 righteous people? Will we save them? And God says, yeah. And that is one of the places where we get the source of a minyan, 10 people for a prayer service together. Okay. What do we learn from that? We learn from that people disagree with God. People take God to task. Judaism's got a wealth of stories, a long history of these stories. For all of you who've seen Fiddler, I'm sure a lot of you have, what does Tevye do half the movie? He talks to God. And often he takes him to task. God, did you have to make my poor horse lame right before Shabbos when I'm trying to get home and I'm working hard? It's like not always happy with God. But there's an intimacy there. There's a relationship there that he has, and it means the world for him. It's the basis of his faith. Moshe, when he arrives on the scene, Moshe's going to argue with God all the time, disagree over what should happen to the people, or what should do this or that. And so Judaism has this built-in kind of like history of people and God not always seeing eye to eye and not being afraid to speak their mind. Okay. Fast forward, a couple thousand years ago, the Jewish rabbis of hundreds of years discussed Jewish law, and they put together the Talmud, the great book of Jewish law. And when you study the Talmud, page after page after page talks about rabbi after rabbi after rabbi disagreeing with the next guy about everything, major things, minor things, how to live Jewish life, how to follow the law, what's okay, what's not, what's maybe okay, and they disagree throughout. And we know about a lot of these famous rabbis. Hillel and Shammai were 2 rabbis who disagreed on so many things. The beauty of the Talmud is that it includes all their conversations, and it rarely gets to the point where one's right, one's wrong. It usually leaves a lot of it as like, these are 2 points of view. I'll tell you a famous one, and what is so cool about the fact that they didn't let the ones that we don't follow go, we know what they all said. At Hanukkah time, Shammai said the first night you should light 8 candles and then go down because you count the days left. Hillel said the opposite. First night, 1 candle, like we do, and build up, and he had a reason for it. The Talmud tells us both. We all follow Hillel, everybody. But they didn't get rid of Shammai. They didn't say he was stupid, he was wrong. We're getting rid of him, he's wasting our space. No, they included that. And I got so impressed by that a few years ago that in our adult education classes at Hanukkah, on the first night we light 2 Chanukiot, 1 with 8, 1 with 1. Because Shammai had a good reason. He was a rabbi. He was a smart guy. He didn't just make these things up. He had a reason for it. Hillel had a reason, but we follow a lot of Hillel's rulings. Okay, now, all this is leading to this. Judaism's got a history of disagreement, and people have done it, and sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you talk to others, you disagree, it works out. Sometimes everyone's angry, everyone's mad, it's terrible. That's another huge thing. And people disagree, but a lot of people say that a mezuzah should go on a doorway into a living facility on the right side as you walk in. And you know most mezuzot are at an angle? You know why that was? It was a compromise between those who said it should go straight up and those who said it should go horizontal. And that's another great lesson in Judaism, compromise. In life, compromise. Usually we don't all get our way all the time. There's other people around us too. But hopefully we sometimes get our way. And negotiations about, you didn't get everything you wanted, neither did I, but you got enough, I got enough, you got something, I got something, that's what it is. So that's often why the mezuzah is like this. It's a compromise, which is also really cool.
But which way is this angle?
It angles usually going into the living facility, right? And that's also very challenging because there's all different kinds of doorposts and doorways and where do they lead to, and there's arches, and that's for a whole Talmud class, which we won't get into now. But here's where I want to go with this. The Talmud says in Pirkei Avot, it says chapter 5, it says there are different types of controversies or arguments or disagreements. There are ones that will last and be positive and teach us things, and there are ones that will not last because they're not positive, they're only destructive. And then the Talmud gives an example. The example of an argument that did not work out well is going to be read in the Torah tomorrow morning. It's just one of the reasons I brought it up. It's the story of Korach in the Torah, in the book of Numbers. Korach's one of 6 people mentioned that are the title of a Torah portion. And he was from the same tribe as Moshe and Aaron. And he got it in his head that he should have as much power and leadership as Moshe and Aaron, his kinsmen. That Moshe and Aaron shouldn't be above him, the head of the people. So he said to 250 strong men of renown, why don't you come with me, we'll rebel, and when I get some power, I'll share it with you. And we'll all make out better than we have now. So they all went up to Moshe. Korach challenged Moshe. Without getting into the details now, I will simply tell you that he asked him 2 questions according to the Talmud. And they weren't bad questions, but the problem was Korach didn't really care about the answer. He just wanted to make Moshe look bad in front of the people. You know, sometimes somebody comes up to you and makes you feel bad in front of others, the way they talk to you or what they say or how they say it. It's not that they're necessarily wrong, but you don't have to say it that way. That's what Korach does. The end of the Korach story, it was so coincidental what happened this week. I spoke about it in my Shabbat Devar Torah. I've been doing video Divrei Torah. People like them, they see me, they're short, they love them, they learn something. Korach's followers, you know the story? At the end, the earth opens up and swallows up him and 250 of his followers, and they kind of like disappear in the earth. Do you know what happened in Israel this week? Shari Tzedek Hospital, all of a sudden, a sinkhole opened up. And like 6, 7 cars just got swallowed up by the earth. Thank God no one was in them, no one got hurt. But it happened this week of Korach when the earth opened up thousands of years ago, opened up again. And we've had sinkholes in our area, and we know about them. So, boy, coincidence of coincidence. Why was Korach's argument bad? Because we were told he really didn't want to know the answers to questions. He wanted power, he wanted greed, he wanted wealth, and all this was not a good thing and a way to go about it by embarrassing or going against Moshe in public in front of everybody. But then it says, here's the kind of argument that is positive, you can learn from and will last. It said the arguments of Hillel and Shammai, the 2 rabbis I just mentioned before with the Chanukiah. And they had many disagreements. Why were they positive? Because they never ever called each other names. They never ever said to each other, you're wrong, I'm right, you're stupid, I'm smart. They said, this is what I think should be done. The other one said, this is what I think should be done. And from their arguments and the other rabbis who disagreed on Jewish law, just like we disagree on things with people, how to go about things, what to do, we are told that at some point they said, you know what, neither is right or wrong, but both of them are both trying to fulfill the will of the one true living God. And so Elu v'Elu, they're both right and they're both honorable. Hillel was an honored rabbi, had a lot of students. Shammai was an honored rabbi, he had a lot of students. They disagreed. Happens all the time. So we see from this that as we know that arguing and disagreeing is a part of life, it happens time to time, sometimes more, sometimes less, whatever. But it doesn't have to be a negative thing because we all feel differently and think differently, and it doesn't have to end in fighting and I hate you and I'm never talking to you again and you're stupid and I'm right. It can end by saying, this is how I feel, that's how you feel. Let's try to work this out, but I still love you, we still love each other, we go on, we're family, we're friends, we're community, whatever it is, and there we go. So I wanted to share that because that story is in the Torah tomorrow, and so that's what it speaks to us. So if our hearts and souls are open to this, what we can learn this week is that we don't ever say, like, don't ever argue with anybody. And it's not really realistic, because we do at times. But we're told, be careful how you do it. Do it in an honorable way that you feel good about what you're saying, and do it in an honorable way that you feel good about how you're treating somebody else. And you're not just tearing them down, making them feel bad, making them feel stupid. But you say, all right, I don't feel that way, but I see you have your point of view, and it could be a valid point of view, and together we'll figure this out. So hopefully the next time we get into something of a disagreement with either someone that we've never met before, like at a grocery line or in a parking lot over parking spaces, or with someone we know for a lifetime, we'll remember it's okay. We don't always agree, but there's a way to handle it. We can't always be responsible for how others react, but we certainly can be responsible for how we act. And so I hope we'll all try to be the best people we can. Menches. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to see things differently. Just watch how you do it. And if we're lucky at the end, everyone's got their dignity, everyone's got their peace, everyone's got their side. And on we go. And goes from there. So I wanted to share that with you because it's a big story in the Torah reading, and it's something we do all the time. And hopefully we will be like Hillel and Shammai. Our disagreements will be something that will teach us something, teach others something, and show us that we don't all have to agree, but we can still get along and make peace. So I wish you all Shabbat Shalom, a Sabbath of peace, beautiful weekend. And it's a great story of Korach. There it is. If you want to look at YouTube, you can Google Shari Tzedek Hospital, and you can see the sinkhole opening up. Yeah, friends of mine sent it to me from Israel. And it's like, talk about not knowing, man. If there's one thing we like to think, the floor's not going to disappear on us, you know? It's like, yeah, I'm standing, I'm okay. But it happens. What, sweetie?
She doesn't know how that happened, but we could read about it.
Yeah, these things happen, you know. Nothing is forever, and the world shifts and changes, and the ground changes, and all these things happen, and it happened. We're just really thankful that nobody got hurt. And we'll see what happens. I'm sure they're going to try to fix it and rebuild it, but it's what everyone who's like a part of Jewish life knows. It happened during the week when we read about Korach getting swallowed up by the earth. Like, wow, how did it happen that week? So there it is. Call it coincidence, call it God, call it fate, call it bashert, whatever you want to call it. Any comments or questions about Korach, anything? Hopefully you learned something interesting. I did, because we all argue, and trying my best. A lot of you know, just a little postscript, just became a grandfather for the first time this week. My middle daughter, Alana, had a baby. Thank you so much. I tell you that because when Alana, my daughter, discussed a few things with me, including the name that she gave to her daughter, right away I just said, you know what? Whatever your opinion is of any of this stuff, just keep it to yourself. You know, and it's all good. There's nothing wrong. But I remember talking to other people, grandparents, and I said, so like, you know, when you had the grandkids and the kids, like, you know, how involved are you? They went 99% of the time, don't say anything. And the other 1% still don't say anything. So I laughed because it's like my daughters and I are very close and we talk to each other about everything. But I just thought, like, you know, there's no point in me to give my thought, whatever it is. It's all good. I love them both. They should all be well. So it's funny, you know. There's a time to speak for it and disagree. There's a time to say, you know what, it's not for me to say anything. So it's all good. Sometimes it's the best way to keep the peace. Just keep quiet, you know. And you can feel how you feel, but there it is. So, okay. So now we are up to Kiddush. And we are going to continue that. It's in your Sidurim, I believe on page 55. Kenner, can we ask you to make Kiddush with us on page 55? For those who want to rise, you're more than welcome to do so. The celebration of Shabbat and the Simcha.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim Yivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. L'chaim to everybody. Debbie, Sarah, of course, Matthew, all you guys on this beautiful weekend. Enjoy it all. It's a beautiful simcha. We continue with Aleinu on page 56.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, ויור עלינו ככהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Those who would like to recite the mourner's Kaddish, you can remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. The sacred words of remembrance are on page 58. We informed the congregation that Michael Lyon Drosner's father, Larry, passed away this past week. Funeral will be Sunday and 3 Shiva Minyanim. The announcement has went out. Michael's the president of the congregation, and so we mourn Larry's passing. For everyone else who has loved ones who are alive in our hearts, of course, tonight we remember dear beloved husband and father David and others too, and a lot of people who live in our souls and our hearts. May they all rest with shalom and peace. And if you want to join me, we say Yit Kadal, V'Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'Alama Divra, Chirutei, V'Yamlich Malkutei, V'Chayechon, V'Yomechon, U'V'Chayei, D'Chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imaru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivorach liolam ulomei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dikudsha b'richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alama v'imaru amen. Yehei shloma rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru amen. You may be seated, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Good to see you. I don't know what season it is by looking outside, but they tell me it's June and summer's coming. It's hot, it's cold, it's rainy, it's sunny, whatever it is. We'll take what we can get. But it's just good to see you all. This is our last bar mitzvah of the season before the summer break. We've had a bunch this year. They've all been simchas. And this weekend is going to be as great a simcha as all of them are, for absolutely sure. Debbie, we want to say mazel tov to you. You are surrounded by love. All sides, if you look around, wherever you look, someone who loves you. We are so happy for this weekend. To Sarah, to proud grandparents, relatives, and friends, everybody. So perhaps one of the reasons I was moved to tell the story tonight is that we're not always all on the same page together. All right, so Matthew wanted to celebrate tonight, more in the lobby outside. That's all right. He's still becoming a bar mitzvah. He's still here. He's with us. We each do it our own way, the best we can. We have nothing but love for him, and we want him to be well. Tomorrow afternoon is another chance to see where we can go. If it's the same, it'll be fine. If it's different, it'll be fine. Whatever it is, it's all good. So, what, dear? Yes. He's already doing it. Hey, he's here dressed in a suit. That's more than I can manage most of the time. So, we're just give him all of our love. Tell him we all said mazel tov. The better he feels about all this, maybe it'll help some things, but it's all good. Either way, we're having a beautiful bar mitzvah this weekend, and we're all happy to be a part of it. So you enjoy yourself, and feel the love from everyone around you. It is great, it is there, and it will always be there. Yes, should all be good, should all be good. Right, and one piece of wisdom from Jewish life and life in general is, just because today is today doesn't mean tomorrow's the same way. You never know what happens tomorrow. So tomorrow he could be right up here clapping his hands and singing. But whatever it is we're ready and it's all good. So I'm not worried about it. There's no worries about it. So you just have a wonderful weekend, best you can, and enjoy. There's a time for everything. Tomorrow morning, I'm leading services on Zoom at 10 a.m. And then tomorrow at 5 o'clock, right, Deb? We're back here. Same time, same station. You see the chairs and the books and everything, and we'll have a wonderful Shabbat Mincha Bar Mitzvah tomorrow afternoon, please God, with Matthew and everybody. So we're going to have a final song, and then after that, we're going to wish you Godspeed. Drive carefully. Marnie, thanks for helping to usher today, as always. And you had a simcha this year, so muzzle tough to you, always. And we're going to sing Hinei Matov. If you're comfortable putting your arms around people, do that. Because Hinei Matov means how good it is to be together to celebrate Shabbat and the simchas of our lives. Hinei Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. That was the best Shabbos version of the Rockettes I've ever seen. Guys, you have a great one. Shabbat shalom to you all.